Hello Leafs Nation, I'm Rick Scarborough and you're watching Blue and White Weekly, where we bring you weekly updates on the Leafs and the hockey world at large. I got chased out of Crotch Lake, Ontario for misunderstanding its name, but that's not what's important. What's important is we have a brand new week of Maple Leafs hockey to talk about, so let's get into the news. Before we get into the games of the week, let's take a look at some news from around the hockey world. U.S. President Donald Trump voiced support this week for Russian President Vladimir Putin's idea to organize games between NHL players and KHL players. Almost immediately, the NHL released a statement saying, quote, "We have just become aware of the conversation between President Trump and President Putin. Obviously, we were not a party to those discussions, and it would be inappropriate for us to comment at this time." End quote. Seeing as, for the time being, this is a political discussion and not a hockey one, and thus out of my wheelhouse, I will also not be commenting at this time, for fear of the comments section. The General Managers meetings took place earlier this week as owners, managers, and Commissioner Gary Bettman discussed the future of the NHL. When asked about potential changes to the playoff format, Gary Bettman's remarks were a resounding no, and that he likes the format as it is. "I can't wait for the Leafs to continue to play the same two teams in the first round every year." Bettman also provided an update on his own future when asked if there was any discussion with managers of his eventual retirement, saying, quote, "Absolutely not. You keep trying to get rid of me. No such luck. I'm going to outlast you." Ignoring the fact that that sounds like a supervillain monologue, I suppose the old saying is true. There are only three certainties in life: death, taxes, and Gary Bettman. ESPN has reported that Houston billionaire Dan Friedkin is in discussion with the NHL to bring an expansion team to Houston, Texas. If they go by any other name than Houston Aeros, I will riot in the name of Gordy, Mark, and Marty Howe. Utah Hockey Club owner Ryan Smith announced Utah HC Plus, a streaming service available for just $1, where fans can watch all remaining games this season and games in the first round should the team make it to the playoffs. Meanwhile, in other parts of the league, we've got whatever that is. Prime Minister Mark Carney partook in Oilers' morning skate on Thursday, participating in drills with the team and even getting his own stall in the locker room. I'm glad they were able to find a real goalie and can finally move on from Stuart Skinner. And as we transition into Leafs talk for today, the team announced this week they have signed college free agent John Prokop to a one-year deal for next season. Prokop is a defenseman with Union College in the NCAA and has 27 points in 36 games this season. For the remainder of the year, Prokop will join the Toronto Marlies on a tryout contract. And now let's look at the games of the week. On Wednesday, the Colorado Avalanche came to town. Prior to the game, when asked about his team's plans to slow down Nathan MacKinnon, head coach Craig Berube answered, quote, "I don't know." Which, that's a pretty good answer. You can't really slow down Nathan MacKinnon. He's Nathan MacKinnon. The game started slow with a low-event first period, but the second period exploded just 28 seconds in as Austin Matthews scores on the power play for his third goal in 2 games. I don't want to speak too soon, but maybe Poppy's back. Not long after that, however, Valentushkin would tie things up for Colorado and bring us to a tie heading into the third. And then in the third, we get what just might be the weirdest goal this season, which is saying something because we just had the weirdest goal of the season last week. Simone Benoit goes to clear the puck, and referee Kelly Sutherland thinks it's going high, so he dives to the ice so as to not get hit. But the puck isn't going as far as he thinks, and it actually hits him on the ice and stops. He gets up and lets play resume because that's how the rules work, and Steven Lorentz swoops in to grab the loose puck and score Mackenzie Blackwood. And I have to think Kelly Sutherland will have words for Steven Lorentz through no fault of Lorentz's. Sutherland messed up there, obviously, but if Lorentz grabs the puck and misses the net or Blackwood stops it, or the Avalanche recover it and go the other way, then it's just another case of puck hitting a referee like we see in almost every game. But because Lorentz got a goal out of it, Kelly Sutherland will now be on every highlight package, blooper reel, and misplay countdown from now until the sun explodes. Anyway, that puts the Leafs up 2-1, and a big 38-save performance from Joseph Woll shuts things down as the Leafs finish a somewhat rocky homestand with a big win. The boys hit the road to the Big Apple the next night for a tilt with the New York Rangers. What started as a bit of a back-and-forth game kicked into high gear halfway through the first as John Tavares activates his amulet powers and opens up the scoring. This wouldn't be the last we'd hear from him in this game. Also, with a secondary assist on this one, Willie Nylander hits the 600-point milestone and is the 5th fastest Leaf to reach this mark. Will Borgen would answer back for the Rangers in the last minute of the period, but cutting it even closer with just 10 seconds to go in the frame, it's Bobby McMahon getting on the board to give the Leafs the lead at intermission. Artemi Panarin can't abide that, however, and he comes out swinging to start the second. But just like the last time this game was tied, it's short-lived when Tavares picks up his second of the game and his 1100th career point. Tavares is now the 68th player in NHL history to reach this milestone. Matthew Knies would add another later in the period to increase the lead, and Chris Kreider would get one back for New York in the third, but the Leafs hang on for the 4-2 win. After the game, Joseph Woll handed off the Player of the Game belt to his partner, Anthony Stolarz, and as Woll said himself, a lot of guys could have gotten it, but Stolarz played well. Personally, my pick would have been Jake McCabe. Now, I know I didn't mention him at all throughout that game recap, but McCabe was stellar in his shutdown role alongside Chris Tanev in this one, and assisted on the Leafs' first 3 goals of the game. Kaber has silently been an MVP, not just throughout this last stretch, but pretty much throughout the whole season, and he's locked down for another 5 years thanks to his $4.5 million extension. And so with those back-to-back wins in their pocket, the Leafs move down to Tennessee to tangle with the Predators on Saturday night. Are you from Tennessee? Because Willie Nylander's the only 10 I see. Wait, that's not how that goes. The puck drops, and for the second straight game, John Tavares opens up the scoring on the power play, and it wouldn't stay just 1-0 for long as Matthews and Marner keep their chemistry rolling with a nifty face-off play, and it's 2-0. Not long after, the depth scoring would activate with Scott Laughton tipping in a high shot in front, but it's called back when the officials determined it to be a high stick, and Laughton's bad puck luck continues. It's still 2-0. So we head to first intermission with the score 2-0. The Leafs are riding high coming into this one on a 3-game win streak against some good opponents, and now they have a strong lead against a respectfully bad team in Nashville. They're definitely going to blow this, aren't they? Michael Bunting gets one back for the Predators and has now scored against the Leafs with all 3 different teams he's played for since departing Toronto. Thank you to David Alter for that, frankly, depressing stat. That goal, for whatever reason, just broke the Leafs as the Predators add to that tally for a total of 5 unanswered goals due to turnovers and defensive collapses in front of Joseph Woll, who I want to point out looked incredible tonight despite the score. And the Leafs lose to the 3rd worst team in the National Hockey League on a night where they had the opportunity, thanks to Florida and Tampa both losing, to jump ahead and claim sole possession of first place in the Atlantic Division. Instead, all is status quo in the Atlantic, and the Leafs and Panthers remain tied, while the Lightning are hot on their tails still. Looking ahead in the week, the Leafs stop back at home Tuesday night to host the Philadelphia Flyers before embarking on the annual California road trip, with the late game Thursday night in San Jose against the Sharks, and then the weekend back-to-back as they face the LA Kings on Saturday and the Anaheim Ducks on Sunday. We'll have all those games for you next week, plus so much more. But for now, thank you very much for watching Leafs Nation. Be sure to like and subscribe. And remember, go Leafs, go. We'll see you next week.